Hello, this is Nefi Varela, and this is my first video for this new unit, and I'm going to start talking about the kidneys, okay? So, going to the kidneys, everything's going to start here in this basic structure named the nephron. In the nephron, we will find this called the renal capsule. The renal capsule is going to be the connection between the glomerular capillaries and the Volman's capsule, okay? So this forms part of the nephron. This is vasculature, okay? So, within the vasculature, we are going to find the efferent arterioles, making reference as the having the glomerular capillaries as a line mark. So this is before this, and the efferent arterioles. These are going to be important structures that are going to help us to regulate pressure, okay? So in the Volman's capture, the first step is going to be filtration. We're going to have some molecules, liquids, ions going from the vasculature to the nephron in the Bowman's capsule. So that's going to be called filtration. So going from the vasculature to the nephron. Then reabsorption. We're going to have some molecules that are not going to stay in the nephron, but they're going to return to the vasculature in the peritubular capillaries. That's called reabsorption. Secretion is when we have these molecules going back from the vasculature to the nephron, okay? And finally, excretion. Those are going to be those molecules that are not going to stay neither in the vasculature or in the nephron, but are going to be excreted in urine, as the name implies. Here, I'm going to start describing filtration. Filtration is going to be regulated mostly by two things. First, physical properties, and two, pressure. Okay, so for filtration here in the vasculature, we're going to have several structures that are going to make some molecules to cross the membrane easier, okay? The first one are going to be the endothelial cells. Endothelial cells are going to be 7 millimeters long, okay? Within the endothelial cells, we're also going to find these structures named glycocalyx, and we're going to find this called the basement membrane, okay? The way that I like to think about it is like the basement is under the house, so it's going to be like the deep, like the deepest structure before, like, to finish the vasculature, okay? Well, in terms of from here to here, basement membrane. That one is going to be 12 to 25 millimeters long, and it's going to be negatively charged, okay? This is going to be important. I'm going to explain it in a second. Here, in the nephron, we're going to have these podocytes, okay? Those podocytes are going to be from 5 to 12 millimeters long. Okay, and usually we're going to have molecules crossing from here to here, such as water, glucose, sodium, potassium, chlorine, calcium, lactate, and metabolites. Okay, so several molecules, okay? But we're going to have a preference to neutral or positive charged molecules and small molecules. As you can imply, I don't know if you have seen how small is a nanometer. It's really, really, really small, okay? So is that small that it's going to be hard for some particles, for example, red blood cells, to cross that membrane, yeah? And also negatively charged molecules, okay? As you can see, it's going to be a higher preference for neutral or positively charged molecules. So that's going to be influenced by the basement membrane that is also negative. And as we know, negative and negative repel. We're going to have, for example, negative ions as a chlorine that is going to be able to cross, but the general principle is that not all negatively charged molecules are going to cross that membrane easily. Also, we have several filters going from small to even smaller, and here we have another small. So this is going to be like when we filter water, not all molecules are going to cross because of these porins that are not going to be that big for all molecules, okay? The next one is going to be pressure, okay? We're going to return to learn some topics, to review some topics that we learned in the previous unit, such as hydrostatic pressure. So hydrostatic pressure is going to be regulated by the blood pressure, blood flow, okay? And also B cup. B cup, as we learned, is going to be regulated by albumin and the osmotic pressure created by those colloids, okay? So, and finally, we're gonna have this called capsule pressure. Capsule pressure is gonna be the pressure created by the capsule. Not a big science, it's implied in the name. So hydrostatic pressure is gonna be a little bit higher than other capillaries in our vasculature. This one is gonna be 55 millimeters of mercury, okay? And that's gonna push water, liquid, and molecules from the vasculature to the nephron, okay? So 55. B cup is going to be 30. And the capsule pressure is going to be 15. Okay. The net filtration pressure is going to be 10. Okay. And this is going to favor liquids and particles going from the vasculature to the nephron, into the Bowman's capsule. Okay. And this is going to be dependent of hydrostatic pressure. We can play actually with this value by vasoconstriction and dilation. So I'm going to say that this is going to be one of the main factors that are going to influence filtration, pressure, and myogenic response. Myogenic response is going to be vasodilation or constriction in the afferent arteriole. Okay, so by creating vasoconstriction, I want to make you think like in terms of a hose. Okay, so if we squeeze a hose from one extreme, less liquid is gonna cross to it. Okay, so we're not gonna create that volume necessary to create hydrostatic pressure. So vasoconstriction is gonna decrease blood pressure, and another concept that I'm gonna introduce after that is gonna be GFR. Okay, and that's gonna be in the afferent arteriole. And also, if we vasodilate, if we do the opposite, we're gonna have more flow, more blood flowing from the afferent arteriole to the vasculature to the capillary. So that pressure is going to build up and it's going to increase, facilitating more filtration to the Bowman's capsule. Okay, we can also have vasoconstriction and dilation in the efferent pathway. It's going to have the opposite effect. By creating vasoconstriction, we are going to create more pressure. Just I want to make you think like in the old cartoons when they used to press the hose, and a big like a balloon of water used to form there and then explode. I don't know if you remember those old cartoons. That's gonna happen the same. So vasoconstriction in the other extreme, in this extreme, is gonna build up pressure here. If we have vasodilation, we're going to decrease that pressure because we're gonna have more blood going from this capillary to the rest of the vasculature. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's going to be also something that is called the macula densa. The macula densa is going to be found in the tubuloglomerular loop. Okay, and this is gonna control vasoconstriction and dilation in presence of salt in the afferent arteriole. And it's gonna make more sense after because it's gonna be on a step of those fluent, like that movement of particles through the nephron. And well, in case that we increase sodium chloride, salt, it's going to be sensed by the macula densa, and we're going to release adenosine. Adenosine, compared with other structures in our body, in this case, is going to create vasoconstriction in the afferent, and it's going to decrease blood pressure. And this new concept that I'm going to introduce after, named GFR. If I decrease salt, it's going to be sensed by the macula densa, is going to release nitric oxide, and I'm going to cause vasodilation in the afferent pathway, having the opposite effect. Okay, so it's going to be pretty much it as I described in here. But now this is going to be regulated by some chemicals, adenosine creating vasoconstriction and nitric oxide creating vasodilation. So good, good, good. Now clearance and GFR. As I described, not all molecules are going to be neither, and they're not going to be filtered, neither secreted, absorbed in the same way. That has to do with their properties and to their affinity to cross these membranes. Okay, so we're going to use three things to, how can I say that, to see how our kidneys are working. So how? I'll define clearance. The clearance is going to be the equivalent of GFR as the amount of plasma that can be cleared per minute. Okay. There are three conditions, three assumptions for clearance. Those are not to be supposed to be secreted, neither reabsorbed. They are these molecules have to be freely filtered, so they're neutral, and yeah, not secretion, nor not reabsorption, not absorption. Okay, so that's gonna be the case of creatinine and inulin. So creatinine and inulin are not gonna be nor secreted nor absorbed. They're gonna be neutral, so they're gonna be freely filtered. And as you can see, those are gonna go as the same degree to the urine concentration and the plasma concentration. Okay, so they're gonna be secreted in the urine, also in the plasma. Okay, a normal value for this is gonna be around 88 to 137. I think the standard is 126. But we're gonna have these molecules that are gonna because of their physical properties, we are gonna have a different situation. For example, as is in the case of glucose. Glucose is gonna be absorbed, okay? But imagine like when you are in the bus or in the subway, the doors open and many people try to get out, right? And there's a point where so many people are like pushing each others against the door, and that is gonna saturate. I'm gonna call like that saturation, that we cannot cross more people. Well, not exactly like that, but those molecules are gonna build up, creating this, reaching this threshold. So, and we're gonna make desaturation. And now we're gonna see some of glucose, some sugar going into the urine. That's not good. That's a symptom of diabetes, right? Having sweet pea, okay? Don't try it at home. The other one is PAH. PAH is gonna be secreted and filtrated, okay? So we're gonna have secretion in the urine and filtration. We're gonna reach this threshold where we will see this filtration after reaching this threshold. Okay, we have a formula for clearance. Clearance is going to be equal urine times rate over plasma concentration. Okay, and again, clearance is going to be the equivalent of GFR. That is going to be like glomerular filtration rate. Yeah, I think that's what it stands for. Okay, so now movement of molecules. Here in the medulla of the kidney, we will have these, our good old friends, named the nephrons. Okay, this is going to be the nephron. And we already talked a little bit about the glomerulus, where we have filtration and everything. Now I'm going to describe what's going to happen here. The reabsorption, the secretion, all that is going to happen. All is going to happen here in these tubules and these loops. Okay, so the first step, all the structures that I'm going to mention that are going to have names, somehow with describing the relationship to the Bowman's capsule. The first one is going to be the PCT, or proximal convoluted tube. Okay, in the proximal convoluted tube, we're going to have the greatest flow of glucose, amino acid, and lactate. Okay, so we're going to have these protein channels that are going to help us to transport sodium and glucose from the lumen to the tubule. Same, we're going to have channels for sodium and amino acids, sodium and lactate, and aquaporin, so for water. Okay, so we're going to have these channels. In the other side, we will have some other protein channels, our good old friends, the sodium potassium pump, that is going to help us to take some of these molecules to the blood. Okay, so we're going to see some sodium molecules being transported from the inside to the blood, and also we're going to see some reabsorption of potassium. Sodium is going to move back and forth between the interstitial space and the vasculature. We are also have we're going to have a special protein channels for practical reasons. I just drew one for all of them for glucose, amino acids, and lactate. Yeah, they're going to have different channels. So that means that these are going to be reabsorbed in the vasculature. So we have again this sodium potassium pump, and we will have water. Water is going to move freely through these aquaporins, and also between these cells, we'll have these spaces to move water. Okay, perfect. So that's going to be in the first step in the PCT. Next, and the descending tubule. In the descending tubule, we will have movement of bicarbonate and sodium. Okay, so first I'm going to describe this chemical formula. We know that if we combine CO2 plus water, with the presence of an enzyme named carbonic hydrogenase, we will create bicarbonate and a hydrogen proton. Okay, so is what going to happen here. We're gonna have bicarbonate that is going to donate its proton, creating two things: water and carbon dioxide. That's gonna happen in here. Carbon dioxide is gonna get into the descending tubule, where it's going to react with water, and with the presence of Ca enzyme, we're going to create bicarbonate, and that proton is going to be taken back to the lumen by this protein channel that is for sodium and this proton. And the other side, taken to the vasculature, we're going to have bicarbonate and sodium. Okay, something important to say, we're going to have a lot of bicarbonate. And in all this process, we're going to see a lot of bicarbonate. Also, we have this space for water to cross from the lumen to the vasculature. So now, a straight proximal tubule. In the straight proximal tubule, we're going to have some protons and anions crossing from the lumen to the inside of the tubule. We're going to have this protein channel again for sodium and hydrogen. And then we're going to have this channel for chlorine and anions. We're going to see this specific channel. It's going to have a specific name, CFTR, that is going to be specifically for chlorine. Okay, so that's pretty much it in the straight proximal tubule. In the descending tubule, again, we're going to have aquaporins. And as we know, the change in molecule concentration and water is going to help us to have a change in osmolarity. Okay, so here in the descending tubule, we will see magnification of osmolarity. In this case, going from 300 until reaching even 600 milliosmoles. Okay, so still we have water flow. Something important to say, even when we have aquaporins here, the majority of water is moved in the proximal tubule and not in the descending. Okay, even when we have these aquaporins in this space for water to cross, the place where we are going to have more movement of water is going to be in the aquaporin. We're almost done, guys. Ascending tubule. In the ascending tubule, we're going to see these protein channels for sodium, potassium, and two chlorines. Okay, so we're going to take these from the lumen, we're going to take it to the tubule, and then we're going to have again a sodium potassium pump that is going to help us to take potassium to the inside of the tubule and sodium to the vasculature again, and we'll have also protein channels for chlorine and potassium. Something important to mention is that we don't have this space for water to cross, so you'll see movement of particles that are going to contribute in the increase of osmolarity and the decrease of osmolarity, because we are not increasing volume. So we will see now the osmolarity dropping from high to low, from 600 to 150, sometimes even lower. Okay, depends on the book. And again, I'm gonna reintroduce this structure named the macula densa, finding the tubuloglomerol. That's going to be pretty close to the collecting duct, and this one is going to sense salt. In presence of too much salt, we're going to secrete we're going to secrete adenosine, sorry, causing vasoconstriction, or in case of lower concentration of salt, we will secrete nitric oxide, creating vasodilation. Okay, so that's going to be something that's going to help us to regulate our filtration rate and concentrations. We're almost done, guys. Collecting duct. In the collecting duct is where everything that was not secreted, neither reabsorbed, is going to be secreted in urine. Okay, so we will have these protein channels for potassium, take in potassium from the tubule to the lumen. We're gonna have other protein channels for sodium. We're gonna have our friend, the sodium potassium pump, helping us to take sodium to the vasculature. We have also these protein channels for potassium, and we have aquaporins. Something cool is going to happen here. We're going to have this G protein that is going to be activated on the presence of ADH. So this is going to help us to create these like aquaporin channels that is going to open these aquaporins from here to here, facilitating the movement of water. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I talked a lot, guys. Something as a summary, just to like a quick review of all the things that I said. PTC, we're gonna reabsorb sodium, glucose, amino acids, lactase. Okay, PST, we're gonna reabsorb chlorine. I'm sure that's chlorine. Now, in the descending lift, we're going to have aquaporin 1 channels for water reabsorption. In the descending lift, we're going to have these specific protein channels, NKCC2, where, inhibition is going to increase urination. And then DCT, we're going to have the macula densa. And I already said like the response that we're going to have multiple times. NCC, and that can also create these side diuretics. Collecting duct is going to be ADH. Something important to say, when we have urination, or the other one, deurination, we're going to see the presence of more aquaporins forming because we want less water to be secreted by reabsorbed in our vasculature. So that's pretty much it. This is the summary for all of it. I hope you liked my video, and that's it for the next video. For this video, for the next one, I'm going to describe the process of uresis and antidiuresis. So see you guys.